Once upon a time there was a little boy just like you, and he had a brother just like your brother. Both of them were digging in the sandbox one day with their granny. They dug and dug and dug deeper and deeper with their shovels, and their hole got bigger and bigger, until they were inside of their hole, digging down. And as most people know, you shouldn't dig straight down, especially when you don't know what's below you. But they did, and they dug until they hit nothing. The ground caved in beneath their feet, and they fell through with their granny until they hit the ground. But now there was a ceiling of sand far above them, and all around them there was noise. They looked around to see why it was so noisy this far below the ground, and what they saw was very surprising to them. It was a city made out of sand. The people of the city were small people, no taller than a foot high, and they looked like they were made of sand. And in fact, they were made of sand. And they were in a panic. They were screaming and running around, and at first the little boys and their granny thought that the people were scared of them, so they tried to calm them down. But after a little while they realized that the people were not afraid of them. Many of the people were ignoring the granny and the boys entirely. Some of them were running up to the boys and then backing away and running up again and then run away. They weren't really sure what to make of the boys and the granny. They were speaking in their own language, so the boys and their granny couldn't understand them, and the sand people were not able to understand English. This made communication a bit difficult, until an important-looking sand person came up to them. He had a tall hat on, and a cape and a little clasp made of gold in the middle of the cape, and that was why he looked important. Anyway, he asked them for help, but he couldn't use his own language, and he didn't know the language of the boys and the granny, so he used hand gestures to ask them for help, as best he could. They still didn't understand him, so he pulled them by the sleeves towards a tunnel. As they got closer to the tunnel, it got hotter and hotter and hotter, and they thought they smelled a burning sort of a smell. Sort of the smell of a glass-blower's shop. Or maybe a potter's kiln. When they got up to the tunnel, they could see why all of the sand people were panicking. There was lava coming down the tunnel. The older of the two boys said, "Wow, there's lava under our sandbox." The Sand City mayor jumped up and down and waved his arms and stomped his feet to show how scared and frustrated the sand people were, because they were made of sand. If lava came, then they would just turn to glass, and they wouldn't be sand people anymore. And they wouldn't have a sand city anymore. They would have a glass city, I suppose. The younger of the two brothers said, "Let's do something to help them." Granny said, "What can we do to help them?" The younger brother and the older brother both had ideas. The older brother wanted to dig a channel to redirect the lava away from the city. The younger brother wanted to throw water on the lava to quench the lava. They didn't have time to argue about which plan was better, so they decided to do them both. Sand people are excellent diggers. Some of them got to work on the channel right away, and they dug it all the way around the city. Other sand people got buckets and buckets of water to throw on the lava, and they started tossing the water on the lava, and the lava slowed down. It started to hiss and blacken a little bit at the edges, but it still came through because it was very, very hot. The smell was terrible. It smelled like new asphalt, or maybe a dragon's den. And the hissing, steaming, stinky, hot lava kept flowing towards the Sand City until it hit the channel, and it started going around the city in the channel, and they kept throwing water on the lava. It kept hissing until it was a hardened piece of rock. The city was saved, and they had a nifty new moat made of hardened lava. The sand people quickly threw together a ceremony to thank their rescuers, and the sand mayor gave them a reward. In thanks for their brave deeds, the two boys and the granny were given the ability to understand the sand person language. The sand people also constructed a ladder so that the boys and their granny could come and go through their sandbox whenever they wanted. So with thanks on both sides, the granny and the two boys went home. The end.